All right, so this is our enrollment update as of today. Next slide. And as you can see, for spring enrollment as of today, we have 35 to 25 head counts, and the blue line is the current semester. And as you remember, the green line was from last semester and last year. And there was a big delay there for the green line for my SDSU issues. And we are on track this semester, and the numbers are looking good. Next slide. The breakdown for all the colleges looks like this. And as you can see at the bottom right-hand corner, we are at 3.1% above target. And this number will settle down a little bit by census next week. And we are right on target, or right a little above target. The next slide. So for fall academic year 24 and 25, as you can see here, our applications trends are going up, and we are approaching 117,000 applications so far. And as you can see, the biggest jump is in the red area, the first year freshman applications, and it's been going up quite significantly. This is great for us. We have high demand and a lot of applications, and a lot of students are interested in coming to us. As you probably heard, there are some SDSU campuses struggling to meet enrollment targets, right? And we're doing quite well. And to show you the next slide, where the student might be going. So this is as of today. We have 16,800 admits. Now that's a little over halfway through. So if you look at the fall 23 numbers, we admitted 28,000, right? So we're more than halfway now at 16,000. And you see the different colleges with different yield percent, and roughly overall we have about 21% yield. So we'll continue to admit, and then the numbers, the mean GPA really good, 4.12, as you can see there, and most of our first year and transfer admits will be coming in next month, right? So this is some very early numbers. Okay, next. So as some of you remember, last year we had some, again, PeopleSoft-related issues, and graduate admissions were delayed. But this year we're on track, and in fact, we have more than 3,000 graduate files already sent for department reviews. So they are already reviewing as of last month. So we're on track and for graduate admissions. Next slide. So Explore SDSU this year, we already have about 1,100 registrations, and we're expecting about 15,000 visitors on April 13. And we also have quite a few domestic sites that we're hosting. Some of our deans are visiting these different sites, and as you can see on the right-hand side, between February 17 and March 10, we will be hosting these events across the country, and we already have about 630 registrations for those. And next slide. Oh, that's all I have. So I'm open for questions.
You're muted, Senator Butler.
You're muted, Nola.
I'm sorry. Is AS President Morsi here? Okay, I just wanted to check. So please go ahead. Several hands are raised. Chair Lack, you're recognized.
Oh, wait a minute, my hand was up. My hand was up. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I meant to say Senator Shomay.
It's okay. Pam, go first.
Thanks. I have a quick question. So with our growing enrollment, and as I understand it, our growing enrollment targets, I'm curious what the strategy will be for making sure that we have enough tenure track faculty and staff to support our ever increasing enrollment. And so that we're not simply relying on lecturers to teach all the classes, but that we're actually growing our faculty to meet our student demand.
Absolutely, and that's one of my highest priority, to continue to hire more tenure track lines and to continue to have more of those lines, even though the budget is a little uncertain this year. But we're still shooting to have more faculty lines this coming year. In fact, this morning at the Academic Dean's Council meeting, I discussed the timeline for the next cycle, right? And so we are back to pre-pandemic timelines now for next cycle. And in fact, all the faculty line request forms and startup request forms are posted already for the department to start discussing the month of February. And then the deans at the college level with their leadership teams will start considering all the college requests. So we're on track on that. Yes.
And what about staff hiring? Because we need enough administrative coordinators. We need advisors. Are we also going to be
Yes.
committed to hiring staff as well?
Yes, we'll have to, and of course, we expect more resources, right, as we recruit more students. So we have to have those resources. Yes.
Okay, so we do have a time certain, and we have two hands up. So if you could make your questions or comments brief. Senator Shomay, you're recognized.
I'm going to give it to Savannah because she hasn't spoken yet.
Thank you. Senator Sherman, you're recognized.
Thanks so much. I just a quick comment, and I might have misheard what was said, but what Pam said about, are we increasing employees, faculty, staff, and Provost Tong's reply was, we're getting more tenure lines. And I'm just wondering if it's realistic to see increasing tenure positions as the total solution to our skyrocketing enrollment. Given that lecturers are about half the faculty and teach about half the classes, I'm not sure how extra tenure lines really resolves the issue of increasing workloads. And it also it's sort of kind of uninclusive as well, because lecturers are a very big part of this university too. And I think we should start thinking about how to improve those working conditions as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. I meant all instructors, right? We'll have to obviously increase tenure track lines and lecturers, all instructors. Yes.
All right, thank you. Quick question. Please go ahead, Senator Shomay.
Yeah, just a quick question, and I could follow up with this on an email with you, perhaps, is that from the transfer student, do we know how many students are actually coming in with IGETC certified versus CSUG certified?
Yes, that's a big topic. We've been talking about this yesterday and today at meetings, and 928 related issues, and yes, that's one of the topics. The other one is FAFSA issues this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're really busy talking about them. FAFSA is a big problem also because because of the timeline and because the Department of Energy is
Yeah.
has delayed so much, we're constantly monitoring, and is this could impact students we might lose to community colleges and
Exactly.
a few other things. Yes,
So if I could
absolutely.
follow up with an email with you, maybe on
Yes.
whether you have any numbers on this, I would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, and thank you, Interim Provost Tong, for your report. We're going to move on now to Associated Students Report, which is being presented by the Vice President of University Affairs, Gallant. You're recognized.
Hi, everyone. I'll be stepping in for Tarek today to give our AS report. I just want to take the time to highlight one of our initiatives that we've been working on so far this year called Career Advantage, really highlighting students' careers and the importance of bringing our alumni back, focusing on our alumni speaker series that we're having in Associated Students this semester. And we have two main events that we're bringing back to campus. We have our alumni speaker series, Courtside Chats with Recent Graduates. That's happening February 20th in the Union Courtyard from 5 to 6 p.m. Where we'll have different alumni there talking about their careers, how they've been navigating post-graduation life, and we'll also be watching the men's basketball game at the Union tip-off. And then we also have an event titled Your Voice, Your Career, Expand Your Network, which is happening March 6th from 3:30 to 5 p.m. in our Student Union Theater. Again, hearing from different industry professionals representing all of our SDSU academic colleges and learning also how to utilize the new Aztec network, which is a really great network and website for students to be able to navigate and also just be able to connect with previous alumni, things like that as well. So we'll be having an alumni panel of approximately 8. And again, it's 3:30 to 5 p.m. in the Union Theater. And some services that we're offering this semester are our student-to-student peer mentoring that's happening in our student lounge, where students can kind of give advice and offer any support that other students may need in terms of career development. And then we also are offering free headshots for faculty, staff, students, in our backdoor studio for use on your LinkedIn, resumes, and more. We offer them every Tuesday and Friday from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. And that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any quick questions or comments? Well, I have a comment. I just really want to thank you all for your hard work, and it's hard to believe that you're in the home stretch for your this semester. We appreciate all that you do.
Thank you. It's bittersweet leaving, but yeah, I know that AS is in good hands.
Thank you. All right, we do have a time certain at 3:35, but I'm not sure that they're with us today, and that's a report on AI. Are any of the representatives for the Instructional and IT Advisory Committee here? Seeing none, we will have to call them back in the future because there's nobody here to represent them. Okay, so we're going to have a couple of other reports coming, but in the meantime, I'd like to go back to our information items because we did not approve them. Are there any other questions about any of the other information items, or can we approve these items by unanimous consent? All right, I don't see any hands raised. So is there anyone who dissents from approving these by unanimous consent? All right, seeing no hands raised, these items are approved by unanimous consent. And we will move on to our next, we do have some other reports that we can squeeze in here real quick. Before our next time certain. So our first report will be my SEC report. We've already had our Senate Excellence in Teaching Award presentation. Please come out and support her lecture on April 16th. We also wanted to announce that we have a date for the Senate elections caucus meeting, and that will be April 23rd. Information about that will be added to our website soon, and we'll keep you updated about that. Want to encourage folks to consider running for office. I'd also like to have AVP Brooks please share an announcement about the SDSU Young Men of Color Retention Study Group Task Force.
Thank you, Nola. Colleagues, so a cross-divisional team of faculty, staff, administrators, students have been working together now since last fall to study up on one of our most persistent and concerning equity gaps that remains in student success, and that is the gender gap that finds young men of color on this campus, especially local young men of color, lagging about 10 points behind their peers and others, their female peers and underrepresented students in terms of retention and in terms of graduation, especially at the four-year graduation rate. This is not just an us problem, this is a national problem, and it extends also to young men of all races, ethnicities, backgrounds. Young white men, local too, are lagging behind our medians for retention and graduation. So this is not a simple problem. This is a very complex problem, and we brought together in January for a 3-day study group world-class experts on our own faculty, Dr. Frank Harris, Dr. Marissa Vasquez, Dr. Eric Felix. We brought together rank and file folks who work in advising in student affairs and campus diversity. We brought together our faculty from ethnic studies, folks who work in this office. Stefan Hyman was present. ACER, AVP Jeannie Stronach was a co-convener, and we all put our heads together to develop a shared theory of practice, which is there in front of you. You may have received this as a Salesforce announcement from members of the collective. We are reconvening March 20th in the Alumni Center. Anyone who wants to participate is welcome. Our goal is to continue to study, to read peer-reviewed research, to look at our data, and to understand how a theory of practice, a theory of change like this could be implemented wherever we work. So we welcome you. Thank you for including this item in the packet. There are links in this item to RSVP forms and to the event agenda. Happy to answer questions offline as I'm mindful of the Senate's time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this report. This is an item that's near and dear to my heart, so I'm really glad that this is moving forward. Seeing no hands raised about this particular item, we just want to encourage everybody to please come out and support it at the next event on March 20th. And my final item that I'd like to share is also an RSVP link for the Senate meeting at the Imperial Valley campus on March the 5th. We are in the process of trying to see about arranging for transportation out there. Really want to encourage as many senators as possible to please come out and ride up there with us, and because the Imperial Valley campus gets treated like our stepchild, and it's not our stepchild. It's been with us since the mid-1950s, and we need to take better care of it and help them feel more of a part of our community. So please do all you can to come with us that day. So we're going to send this link out, and we'll send out another email right after this meeting is over. Any questions or concerns about anything? All right. Senator Merritt, you're recognized. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you, Chair. This is a question for AVP Brooks. Where could we get information, RSVP information for the next meeting for the topic?
Yep.
It's in the chat. Yeah.
Thank you for asking, Dr. Merritt. Put in the chat, and I will send it to you directly as well. We look forward to having you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we still have about 5 minutes. I'm going to move on now to our next report, and that's our it's our Senate Vice Chair report. Vice Chair Murdoch, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my report is going to be brief today. As you all know, I have just started in this role. So I am working on familiarizing myself with the referral system and our process for referrals. I will just note that there are quite a few referrals that are in committee and that are also within a longer time frame of about 2 years. So hoping to follow up with people as to how that committee work is going on these referrals so that we hopefully can push some through and get them taken care of. Additionally, there are some outstanding referrals that are in process from last semester. So I will be working with former Chair Vasquez, Vice Chair Vasquez on working on those referrals, and they should be updating and populating this chart hopefully soon. So yeah, so thank you for your patience, understanding, and grace as I adjust to this role. Thank you.
Okay, so there's one hand raised, and that's Senator Merritt, but I wonder if that's an old hand. Old hand.
Okay, yes.
All right, thank you. All right, seeing no questions for you, Vice Chair Murdoch, thank you for your report. We'll go ahead and move to our Senate Treasurer report. Treasurer Sharma, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you. So here you see the expense report, which also includes the assigned time expenses, stipend for the, as well as the course release information, plus the food and catering and equipment additional expenses. Overall expense is $153,785.32. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we have completed all of those reports. I wanted to see if, let me see, Director Grossello, are you here?
Hi, Chair Butler-Bird. Maureen Garcello here.
All right, well, so we would like you to go ahead and start your report on Well-Being Improvement Survey for Higher Education, or WISHES.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Maureen Garcello, and I'm the Director of Program Evaluation, Compliance, and Assessment within Student Affairs and Campus Diversity. I'm here today joined by my colleague Dipti Badapati, who is our assessment analyst. Today, we will be sharing with you a little bit about what we lovingly call PECA, Program Evaluation, Compliance, and Assessment. Is kind of a mouthful. So with PECA, within Student Affairs and Campus Diversity, we wanted to make sure that you were all aware that we serve as a campus resource, not only to the division, but also to the institution at large. We wanted to share some information about a project that we have taken on and have been researching for the past 18 months now, and to share with you some of these WISHES insights that we have discovered and ways in which you can leverage the data, which ties in really nicely with AVP Brooks's comments regarding student subpopulations and being able to see their outcomes as compared to their peers. So Program Evaluation, Compliance, and Assessment came about within the Division of Student Affairs and Campus Diversity in 2022, which is also when I came on board. We serve within the Campus Life subdivision. I report to AVP Randy Tim, and we cover a lot of ground. You can see this here, but primarily we're focused on a portfolio of assessments, which include the WISHES, or Well-Being Improvement Survey for Higher Education Settings, WISHES. The National College Health Assessment resides within our area now. The NCS BIS Bystander Survey, which are all active or about to be active in March, all sit within our area. We oversee those assessments. We serve as campus collaborators including sitting on the WSCUC Reaffirmation Committee. I sit on both the Pitfalls Committee and the Assessment Committee. Subcommittees. We sit on the Data Professionals Network, which is a collaboration of assessment professionals across campus, and also the HSI subcommittee. So we're in a multitude of places on campus serving in various capacities. We also coach and empower student affairs professionals. We're taking a team of about 40 professionals through the CSU Chancellor's Office Student Success Analytics Certificate Program. And we have more than 50 student affairs and campus diversity professionals who have completed the certificate program. Some of you may well be on this call. We also work to support data-informed improvement, iterative programming, and services to our students. So what is WISHES? WISHES comes out of New York University and the Action Network for Equitable Wellbeing, which is also known as ANEW. Dr. Jim Lang, Senator Lang on this call brought this project to me as soon as I started. I think I had been here a couple days in this new role. And it's an assessment that began in 2018 with 8 institutions. He is heavily involved in the ANEW network. And we are now one of the institutions who regularly administers WISHES. It's a combination, the instrument is a combination at no cost to our institution of subscales from valid and reliable instruments. So some of you may recognize flourishing scales, Cantrill scales, the Connor-Davidson resilience scales, and the entire instrument of a little bit over 60 questions is designed to get a check on students' overall well-being. There are a number of calculated measures which kind of add up in these WISHES measures to give us signals of student psychological distress and whether they're seeking treatment for that distress. There are also a number of singular questions asking students about their alcohol use, for example. And you'll see here there are 3 bullet points in red at the bottom. This is really interesting because WISHES serves as a vehicle for students, and all students will receive WISHES throughout this academic year. All students received the WISHES invitation last academic year. We had over 4,000 students respond. But it serves as a vehicle for us to be able to ask local SDSU questions, which include questions about students' drug use. In response to SB 367, the Campus Opioid Safety Act, we were able to administer kind of like a proxy pre and post. In April, we asked students about their fentanyl awareness and their naloxone access. Over the summer, thousands of students were trained on this information. And then in November, we put out the same set of questions as a pseudo post, asking students about their awareness and naloxone access. And those greatly improved, of course. So with our research design, we knew immediately that we wanted to democratize the data and create a dashboard to put in the hands of our campus community. We want you all to be able to explore your own student populations and subpopulations to understand how those students are reporting their experiences at SDSU and which students might be at risk or who would benefit most from services and programs. So here are a couple questions that you might be considering when you look at the WISHES dashboard. You will have all of these resources. They are all actually within the Senate agenda. So I'll quickly orient you to the dashboard. If you look in this top left corner here with this orange square, you'll see an executive summary, conditions for well-being, and outcomes. We're on the intermediate outcomes tab right now. If you look to the right of the screen, you will see that there are a number of filters. And among those filters, you can sort by the semester, look at the entire academic year by campus. Chair Butler-Bird mentioned Imperial Valley. You can sort by Imperial Valley's campus, graduate division, all of the colleges. In this case, I have sorted by or filtered by sophomores and underrepresented minority students. I'll take your attention to the left here. We'll see this is 157 student respondents. Now, it's important to note, we filtered the population quite a bit here. We've taken it from 4,875 students to 157. But even though we've really constricted the variables to this very specific student population, we get an interesting data story here. So if you look where this oval is, you'll see that these students, sophomore, underrepresented minority students from all of the campuses, report higher health and academic risk than their non-URM, non-sophomore counterparts. So we're looking at 13% from the overall population and 19% from this population. So if we're looking at, again, back to AVP Brooks's report, if we're looking at where do we begin, what questions can we ask these data further, you can actually filter by ethnicity, first-gen status. There are a number of different ways to explore the dashboards. I really encourage you to do so. And it's really a starting point. It's a conversation starter for you and your teams in your departments to be able to explore these data and further understand where our students might be struggling. This is the conditions for well-being dashboard. So we have some leading indicators and lagging indicators. And you can see here that students were asked about whether or not a professor or faculty member makes them excited about learning and whether they care about them or they feel like they are cared about as a person. And sophomore underrepresented minority students report far fewer of those experiences than their non-URM, non-sophomore counterparts. So this isn't a bad thing necessarily. It is a place to begin. It is a place to start either further inquiry to further understand why sophomore students are feeling this way and to perhaps provide some programs and interventions to be able to improve those scores, because that's the entire point of WISHES. It's the Wellbeing Improvement Survey. So we take these data points, we iterate upon the programs and services, and then we measure again, which is what we're doing in PICA. All of the WISHES resources are here for you. I'll be sure that we post those short links as well in the chat. I see we have a request for that. You can actually take your phone and capture the QR code here for the WISHES desk report that has also the statistical tests and the insights that we ran across all questions. Not all questions are represented on the dashboard, but you'll be able to get a much more complete picture looking at the desk report. The dashboard is at this short link, and then you can also look at the survey instrument preview. Contact us at any time. We are so happy to be of service. And I can't thank our assessment analyst, Dipti Badapati, and also Dr. Jim Lang enough for bringing this survey instrument to SDSU's community. We are really engaged with the WISHES and a new community and looking forward to making a lot of use of these data to improve our students' well-being. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for your report. And we have like 1 or 2 minutes for question if there are any. Thank you. Senator Adams, you're recognized.
Yes, well, thank you for doing this work. It's really valuable data. And I was looking over the information that was provided in the Senate packet, and it's very disturbing. I mean, our students are doing really poorly in some of these measures, and but it raised a lot more questions than it actually answered for me, like why? So I was wondering if there's any talk about doing follow-up, maybe like focus groups or other sorts of things that can maybe drill down a little bit more to try to explain why we're seeing the patterns that we're seeing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Senator. It's a great question. And the new network at NYU has very recently and very aggressively addressed this. So Jim, myself, Erin Jacobs, Dr. Erin Jacobs, who I don't know that she's on this call, but we're going through a wishes to action, high impact workshop right now to figure out how to take the signals that we're receiving from wishes, and we take the bias and understand that the student respondents are perhaps the students are doing really well or doing really poorly. And we all have to take that into consideration. But at the same time, how do we take these data and how do we drill down and focus groups to really the first place that they are recommending we begin? Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Director Gracello, and your colleague. I forgot what's her name.
Dipti Bhattapati. She's right here. Oh,
Thank you so much for all your hard work, and we appreciate your efforts. And if you could paste the link into the chat, that would be great.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
We're going to move on to our 4:55 time certain, and that's a report from the Pride Center. Director Wong, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm really grateful to be here speaking with you all again. I'm going to kind of go quickly at the beginning just because of time, and there are some things that I definitely want to highlight. Next slide, please. So I know, yeah, people have access to slides. I included the land acknowledgement as well as on the next slide, the Pride Center's accessibility statement that we use in presentations to kind of like acknowledge like different learning styles and or like ways in which people like engage best for them. Next slide, please. So I was kind of looking at the names when I came into the meeting, and I don't know a lot of folks here. So my name is Kay Wong. I use they, them, theirs pronouns, and I serve as the Pride Center director. And before this position, I was the Pride Center assistant director, and then before that, the Pride Center coordinator. So I've sort of moved through various roles within this space. Next slide, please. So this is a quote from the original proposal to start a campus resource center at SDSU. I actually would have brought it if this was in person. I know it's a little blurry, apologies, but like this is like the original proposal with like the handwritten signatures on it. And one of the quotes in it is like that the folks on it, including like a lot of faculty, like wanted a center of excellence where diversity is a proliferation of experience, cultural resources, and perspectives. And just want to like really give credit to these folks because that is still like aspirations of the Pride Center and still things that are woven into our values and our mission statement. Fun fact, little like Pride Center trivia. The first time that I was able to find the Pride Center documented anywhere was in March of 1970 because the students of SDSU started the Gay Liberation Front, which was one of the first like gay, lesbian organizations after the Stonewall riots. So 1970. This last week was highlighted. Our 10-year anniversary just passed, and last week we had a celebration for that. It was very exciting. We worked a lot with LGBTQ plus studies, like they tabled and like helped kind of like promote the event and highlight why it's important. And we also received a certificate from Senator Tony Atkins acknowledging the work that the Pride Center has done. And so I'm working to get that framed. Some of the things the Pride Center does, we do signature events, peer-led programs, and then passive programs. Some of the programs I want to highlight are Pride. So all things Pride in June for National like Pride Month, and then all things July for San Diego Pride, like kind of like the Pride Center facilitates and organizes, which includes the flag raising ceremony and then the Pride or SDSU's contingent in the Pride Parade, like. And within that, wanted to also highlight just like this past year, looped in like Dr. Draz from LGBTQ plus studies and got some like faculty side insight into like the flag raising component. And Dr. Draz actually like came and spoke at the event over summer And it was probably our most attended flag raising ever, as well as Trans Day of Remembrance. So that is a signature event that we do every fall. And this past year partnered with LGBTQ plus studies and also the College of Arts and Letters, and had more people there than any of like past Trans Day of Remembrance is. And then the last one I wanted to highlight is this academic year. The Pride Center, LGBTQ plus studies, and the LGBT consortium on campus, like we all worked together to host the first ever like Pride Symposium. And we did it in October to acknowledge that October is LGBT History Month. And it was on a Friday afternoon, like right before Halloween weekend. And it was like standing room only. There were faculty from various departments on campus. There were students, there were staff, and it was really cool to see just like everyone come together, and something we hope to continue to do. And so I wanted to share that, especially with a bunch of folks who are faculty and appreciate the work that you all do too. Another thing to highlight is Pride House. So Pride House is a peer-to-peer mentoring program on campus. It's like also a recruitment and retention tool. And it's a collaboration between the Pride Center, Housing and Residential Education, and then LGBTQ plus studies. And this year was really special. Dr. Draz actually taught a 101 class specifically for the Pride House students. So they were getting it like directly from her. And then with Housing and the Pride Center, we kind of provide the mentors and kind of oversight and programming. And then Housing has like, it's a floor dedicated to that. Next slide, please. Another thing is Safe Zones. So Safe Zones has existed at SDSU for a while, thanks to Dr. Califf and Dr. Sakai. And it was on pause for a bit, but excited to share that there's an updated curriculum and design, and we'll be doing those again this semester. Next slide, please. So the next 3 slides are kind of like data. That was something that was asked to include. And so these are our programming snapshots from last year. So we did 291 programs and then 136 additional collaborative programs. And then throughout all of them had 5,115 attendees. And so just like highlight that we do more than just Pride or more than just Trans Day of Remembrance. These next 2 slides, I know they're small, but I'll let you look at them if you have access, or if you need it, let me know. But this is the only data that I have in terms of specific numbers of students within this population at SDSU. So other cultural centers, they get names of students who checked certain boxes on their application. However, it's newer that the Cal State like applications ask for gender and or sexuality. And also it is like kind of really brand new that we get even like vague numbers. But also just want to note that a lot of these might be inaccurate if students are filling them out with, say, like a homophobic parent or anyone else who's like supporting them in the application process. So these don't necessarily help or inform what I do, but it is like the only information I have. Next slide, please. So this slide, kind of like goals and needs. So I've been thinking about, we just had our 10-year anniversary, like what are we looking for in the next 10 years, and some things that I aspire for and want to kind of like see in terms of support for like the queer community on campus, not just necessarily the Pride Center, is a full-time professional staff member who is a trans education specialist. And there's other Cal States and UCs that have this specific position. And also with that, full-time professional staff to do gender and name change on campus, because the systems on campus don't all speak to each other and it causes a lot of harm. I shared the example last week about how more than 800 people had been dead named in an email that like supposedly came from me that was sent by a different office on campus. And that just is like sadly a very constant thing. And also sadly, like that was a week ago and I already have more examples that I could share, including kind of scary. So I apologize that it's still like new to me, but we've gotten postcards sent to the Pride Center and then like attention too, and then specific like student staff members like full names. And the postcards are like include Bible verses and things about like repent and just very harmful topics, in which again it's like a little more direct than we're used to, but we do get like lots of phone calls and people coming in. And so with that, just kind of safety as well and navigating this happening within an institution, and what can or can't be done. And then also more gender inclusive restrooms and housing on campus, all kind of related to these same topics of just like safety and support. And then I know that, yeah, out of time, but I'm happy to discuss more with anyone over email, in person, Zoom, etc. I adore the Pride Center and also definitely see a lot of ways in which it can like more effectively serve students.
Thank you so much, Director Wong, for your report. You're doing very important work, and creating a more welcoming environment at SDSU is critical. So thank you for the updates about the terrible things that are being directed towards you and your community and the work you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I see Senator Sherman and a couple of other hands up, but I'm sorry, we have a time certain at 4:05. So I'm going to ask you to please contact Director Wong directly with your questions. Thank you. So we're going to move on now to the Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, Wicker, and he's going to give us an update on athletic related issues on campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Butler-Byrd, senators, other faculty and staff on with us. Appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you today. Start with some of the good things we're doing in athletics. To start with, we really have three pillars that we look at as we talk about our student athletes, and that's athletic or academic success, athletic success, and then our life skills program. So what's on the screen right now are some highlights as we think about the academic side with our student athletes. We have approximately 450 student athletes in athletics. You can see on graduation success in the upper left, over the last 5 years, you have two different calculations there. One is the federal rate. The federal rate is the 6-year graduation rate for an incoming freshman class. It does not account for transfers that come into the institution. And it does, as you have student athletes who do transfer out, that does impact your rate. The graduation success rate to the right is one that the NCAA utilizes, and it accounts for student athletes who do transfer in and finish their careers at San Diego State. It is a 6-year metric. It does not punish you for student athletes who transfer out as long as they're academically eligible when they leave. So that's why there's a significant difference between the two. We're always striving to do better, but we're very pleased that we've seen a consistent movement in our rates up for the most part. As you look to the right, the academic performance rate, APR, is a metric utilized by the NCAA for competitive purposes. This is a rate that measures both retention of student athletes, so a student athlete that returns to your team year over year, and that they are also eligible. A 930 is the minimum. If you're below a 930, then you are not allowed that particular team. There are penalties that come to the institution, as well as that team could lose their opportunity to participate in championships. So we're pleased that I think our lowest rate is about a 950 right now, somewhere in the 950s. But for the most part, the majority of our teams are well above the overall APR rate that you need to have. GPA highlights over the last 5 years. Our department average GPA has been a 3.16. 14 teams with an average GPA of 3.0 or higher, which leads into the bottom right. This past fall, we had 14 teams that did have a 3.0 or higher. We did have one team that had a 2.99. We couldn't quite figure out how to tick that over. But team high GPAs, you can see the women's cross country team and the men's soccer team led the performance on both sides. 2023, our Scholar Athlete and Malik Award winner. So a Scholar Athlete for the athletic department is in the previous 2 semesters, so this past fall and then spring of last year. That means you either have a 3.2 GPA in one of the semesters or an overall 3.0. So of approximately 450 student athletes, we have 367 scholar athletes. Proud of that percentage of our student athletes. 29 Malik Award winners. A Malik Award winner means you had a 4.0 either overall or in one of the 2 semesters. This past fall with a department GPA of 3.21. That was our highest GPA, our second highest we've ever had. Our highest was back in 2020, we had a 3.26. The last graduation rate metric, we created this one on our own, bottom left, but the exhausted eligibility graduation rate. So if you're a student athlete that comes to San Diego State and you finish your playing career, you exhaust your eligibility at San Diego State, you play your last game, match, whatever it is, at San Diego State, you graduated a 98% rate. We're very proud of that. Obviously, we want to get to 100% with our student athletes who finish their eligibility here, but we are proud of the academic progress that we've made and the work of our academic staff and how they work with our student athletes and the work of our student athletes and coaches. Next slide, please. Next is our Aztecs Going Pro program. This is a program that I'm extremely proud of. This is something that I can only take credit for getting it started and asking our academic staff to build out a program that helped our student athletes with the skills that they're going to need, not only in school, but once they leave San Diego State, because we do require so much of their time with practice, with classes, with all the things that go with it. We wanted to make sure they had opportunities to leave here with the skills that they need to be successful. So it's a 4 1-unit course. So every year they take a 1-hour seminar course, either in the fall semester or the spring semester. I won't read through each item, but you can see some of the items that we cover in the classes. The programming, we really try to give them tools that they can utilize in school and beyond. So we do networking. We help them develop a resume, help them develop a cover letter. We do community service experiences. We set them up with interviews with people in the business community, one-on-one professional development, help them develop their elevator pitch, as you call it. We also look at name, image, and likeness, which is a hot topic within the college athletics world. We help them work on that brand profile as well. And we do a number of events and career and internship fairs, which you can see on the right-hand side. The signature events, we do 2 networking events where we bring Aztec alums, people in the community, those that work in fields that our student athletes are majoring in, to help them make those connections, because I think we all know that a network is as important as anything else as you're getting out into the real world and trying to figure out what your next step is going to be. So we help our student athletes with developing those networks before they leave campus. Next slide, please. From an athletic standpoint, San Diego State is on quite a roll. It's been a great 10 plus years. Obviously on the left-hand side, the men's Final Four last year. We won our first ever Sweet 16 game, Elite 8 game, national semifinal game, making the national championship. It was the first time in school history. It was also the first time a Mountain West Conference school has advanced to the national championship. Our softball team in the spring won their first ever NCAA regional and then advanced to a super regional where they won a game. First time that had ever happened. Had so many people come up to me and tell me they enjoyed watching it on ESPN. It was the first time they had seen an SDSU softball game before and enjoyed the excitement of it. So our softball team is back, basically have the same team back this year. They're preseason ranked. So encourage everybody, if it ever dries out, to come check out the softball team. It should be a very exciting year. And then overall, we're proud of the fact that it's not just men's basketball that's doing well, or football. It's all of our sports. We've had 55 Mountain West Conference team titles since the 12-13 year. There are a number of other sports that compete in other conferences that have also won championships. Last year, we had 6 Mountain West Conference team titles, which was the most of any school. We also have the most championships of any institution through the history of the Mountain West Conference. And then this past fall, our women's soccer team won the regular season title. So excited about what we're doing athletically. Next slide. And again, just to touch on, some of the benefit of, the Final Four run last year. These are some informational numbers that Strategic Communications across campus gathered as we made our Final Four run. I'll start in the upper left and kind of go clockwise. $402 million plus. That's the estimated funding to secure the media coverage SDSU received during that 4-week period of the NCAAs. So $402 million to buy the brand enhancement that our run to the Final Four generated. 1.4 billion overall social media impressions, 518,000 new SDSU.edu users from the top 5 states that you can see there, 30,000 broadcast clips that mentioned SDSU, 1.8 million impressions on SDSU social media posts across all channels, excluding the athletics channels. So that's Stratcom, the College of Business, whoever was out there congratulating the men's basketball team, significant amount of engagement there. 113,000 news center page views, which was a 95% year-over-year increase. 74,000 social media accounts actively sharing info about SDSU and SDSU men's basketball, and then 53,000 print articles. So very excited about, one, the work of our young men on our basketball team and what they got to experience, but also the brand enhancement and what it meant for the institution overall, as 14 million people watched that final game between SDSU and University of Connecticut. Last slide. And then real quickly, just Snapdragon Stadium in Mission Valley and what a success that's been overall for the institution. You can see some of the events, some of the highlight events that we've had in the stadium. But basically going from last March to what will be the end of this month in February with the events that we have coming. 90 total events in the stadium that were full venue events. Over 1 million people in total attendance that will come through, which is a significant increase from last year where we had about 400,000. Again, the events that you see there, other concerts, Jimmy Buffett, the Chili Peppers, Coldplay, Pink, Guns N' Roses. We've had multiple international soccer matches. We have an MLS team starting next year. The NWSL San Diego Wave, shattering all of the attendance records across the NWSL. It's been awesome to have them in the building and see their success. We hosted the NWSL championship game last year. It was the first time they had done it at a neutral site. So we were proud of that. Monster Jam, Supercross. So we've been able to, one of the things I'm most proud of is that we've been able to do, last May when we introduced MLS, we were literally able to check every box that we had promised the community of San Diego if they voted for the initiative in Mission Valley. So the stadium has been a major success for the athletic department, for the institution, as we look at how we're able to engage the community of San Diego as well as our campus. So that is my presentation. Happy to take questions at this point.
Okay, thank you for your very comprehensive presentation. We do have another one. We were trying to squeeze in one more presentation today, but I would like to open up the floor for a question or two if there's someone here with a question. But I'm not seeing any hands raised. So I'm thinking right now what we'll do is thank you so much for your presentation and ask folks if they do have questions of you that they contact you directly. And we appreciate you being able to come and present today. We know it was challenging for you to get us on your schedule.
I appreciate the time and happy to come back anytime y'all need me.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move to our last presentation, and that's thankfully the Instructional and IT Advisory Committee Chair Ross is here. There was a miscommunication, which is why she didn't get to present earlier, but she's here right now. And so we're gonna go ahead and give the floor to you right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to get a chance to talk with you all. I'm presenting for the IIT committee. I'm the chair and talking about AI. As you know, it's a big topic these days. Next slide, please. A few of the things that we've been working on, we've created a subcommittee that's going to dive in deeply looking at AI. And we've also set aside time in each of our monthly meetings to address some of these issues. So we've talked about the need that faculty have for support and education around AI. It's clear to us from what we've been hearing from students, and I'm going to talk more about the survey, that they want clarification around expectations. It's also clear that generative AI is not going anywhere and it is changing fast. I mentioned to some other folks that the ChatGPT-4, the paid version, is now being introduced as part of the Microsoft suite. So that does a couple of things. One, it tells us that it's here and it's not going anywhere, but also in some ways for our students, it gives them all some access to the same tool that we wouldn't have otherwise, where this version is just a paid version normally. We know that at least 3 of the campuses, the CSUs, have AI explicitly included in their curriculum. We also know that different courses and different faculty have really different needs and wants around AI. And we know that the CSU Chancellor's Office is working on policies. All of this brings us to a point where we don't want to write a strict policy around AI. Things are changing too fast, and we would never want to do something that contradicted the Chancellor's Office's policies. But we do have some suggestions that are not strict policies. So next slide, please. There are some guidelines for use that we've suggested, and this is in the referral report. But one of the things is to be sure and include things around AI in syllabi. And one way to do this is this idea of talking about AI is just disallowed. You may not use it in my class. It's considered plagiarism, and I talk about that in my syllabus. It can be used, but with these particular restrictions, or you can use it as long as you cite it and document like you would any other source, or depending on the course, it might be completely unrestricted. So we suggest that those things go into syllabi. Next slide, please. And along with this, we're also working hard. We've got some fellows, some faculty and students that have been assigned to this. And then we did a survey, and that's the next thing that I want to talk about, with almost 8,000 students. And we're doing some faculty training. So next slide, please. So some of the results. So almost 8,000 students, which is more than 20%, which we were really excited about. And 86% say that it's going to be an essential part of their profession, and they need to actually learn about it and how to use it and what's appropriate. And about 51% now already use it in their coursework, and faculty may or may not know about it because it may be a discussion in the courses or not. And they may not use it for anything large. It may be small pieces that they're doing, but again, it is out there and something that we need to be talking about. Digital divide, we're seeing that the more devices a student has, the more they're using it, the more they see it as something being positive. So we need to be really thoughtful about what this means for issues of equity. Disorientation, students really just want to know what our expectations are, and we as faculty need to be clear. And they also really worry that faculty are not trusting them, that they're taking points off, that I think there's another slide that says this, but that if they do really well, they're worried that faculty will assume that AI did the work instead of the students themselves. Next slide, please. They want practical exercises and practical guidance within their classroom, and they also want to think about social impacts and issues of equity and what this means for different students. Some students feel like they're being watched more carefully and judged more carefully related to this. Next slide, please. Let's see. I'm going to skip on to the next one. I know we don't have very much time. So here we say that students tell us that it has the potential to give them an unfair advantage if some students have access and others don't. So like many of the tools and resources that we use, we need to think about which students have access and how we get that access to them. And that everything that we use, the students suggest should be in the public domain or something that's provided by the university. Next slide, please. This is the one where they talk about being concerned that they feel like they're being watched more closely to others, that there needs to be trust, that faculty are assuming that they're using it even when they're not. I think a lot of this comes back to just being clear about the expectations. Next slide, please. So some of the things that we're doing to support faculty, we are offering a micro-credential program, and it's an asynchronous program. Can be done in about 2 hours if you just want to go through quickly. If you actually do all of the work and assignments, it can take probably 4 to 5 hours, and you can also get a badge for that. We have over 500 faculty that have already signed up for this. So it's clear, and it just opened. So it's clear that faculty are interested. We're hoping that a lot more will participate as well. And ideally, we'd like to eventually open this up. Staff can do it already, but we would love to have students participating in this or something similar as well. Next slide. Oh, that's it. So any questions?
We have a few minutes for questions. There is one in the chat, but I'm going to ask if Chair Walls might want to verbalize it.
Sure, thank you. Sorry, my kid has TV on in the background, so if you hear other noise, sorry. So my question is, I submitted a request to IT department to use Otter AI, which is something I learned from a faculty member here on campus. And the request was denied because the chancellor's office is exploring a policy on AI transcription services. However, like I said, I know people are using it where they're paying out of pocket for it, so it hasn't been approved yet. Is there any movement on allowing AI transcription services to be approved? Because it is an accessibility issue. It's useful for students, especially in 21st century Zoom environment. Thank you.
Sure. And I hesitate to speak directly to this one because I'm not positive on this one, but I know that there were some that were privacy issues because of the kind of data that was being collected, and I'm not sure if this is one of them. But if you send me, I'm going to put my email in the chat. If you'll send me an email, I can look into that specific example for you.
All right, I see no other hands raised. So I want to thank you, Chair Ross, for your nimbleness and being able to come and join us today. We really appreciate it. And if anybody else has any other questions of her, please contact her directly. And so we have reached the end of our meeting. Is there a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Anyone not want to adjourn at this point in time? Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody, for all your hard work.